Hey, welcome back to Cath Lab Outreach. This is Scott, and today we're going to talk about bundle branch blocks. So, bundle branch blocks, especially right bundle branch block at the facility I work, is the top one of the top two causes for false activations for STEMI. Why is that? What are some things that cause that? Well, one of the primary things is this discordance. When we talk about discordance, we're talking about the direction the QRS goes, the STs go the opposite direction. That's a normal finding if you have a bundle branch block or a paced rhythm. That when that ST segment goes above the isoelectric line, that there is a trigger for some folks to call it a STEMI automatically. Now, can you have a STEMI during a left bundle and a right bundle? Absolutely, you can. But it's important to say, I have a known mimic. Now, is this a STEMI? I'm interpreting this EKG in the setting of a known mimic. So, left and right bundle branch blocks are known mimics for STEMIs. Some of these bundle branch blocks are very transient. They can come, they can go. Some people have them permanently. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's talk about right bundle branch block. Right bundle branch block is one of the top two reasons for false activations for STEMIs at the cath lab I work. The number one is a flutter, and we've talked about that on a different video. But what is a bundle branch block? Well, it's a block down here in the bundles that causes the QRS to widen out. And we'll talk about why that widens out. When we see a wide QRS, you have to think, is this a ventricular rhythm or was this on the wiring at some point and then it slowed down? And that's why we want to see a P wave. P wave or even a fib, something saying that, hey, this signal was coming from the atria into the ventricles. It was on the wiring at some point. And that's what the P wave means. So as far as your conduction goes, we have a P wave, so we know we're starting in the SA node. The PR interval is less than 200 milliseconds, so we know that the wiring in the atria is okay. But here we are through the AV node and into the bundles. So in this case here, it tries to go down the right bundle. It can't. It can only go down the left, but the right ventricle still fires because in the ventricles, the cell, actually the whole heart, the cell walls can talk to the other cell wall and can propagate that signal. So why is a QRS wide? Well, if we're all hooked up to a wire, when I get shocked, you get shocked. But if that wire's not working, cardiac cells have that ability to communicate from cell wall to cell wall, and that adds time. Width on the EKG represents time, so therefore it took longer to go through the ventricles. The QRS is wider. Why? So what? How do we know right or left bundle branch block? A lot of people like to look for bunny ears or the R prime. That's not a diagnostic feature. It can give you a hint and a clue, but it adds the width of the to the QRS. Therefore, you're going to see that from time to time, but that's not a diagnostic feature. Actually, it's very simple. V1 is all we need, and we call it the turn signal rule. So V1 on the chest sits about right in this area. So if we have this massive wavefront coming from the left ventricle over to the right ventricle, the bulk of that energy is going to be coming right toward V1. Anytime the energy is coming toward a lead, that lead will have a strong upstroke. Therefore, V1 has a strong upstroke. So if you think of a turn signal, if you're going to make a right hand turn, which way would you flip your turn signal? If you flip your turn signal up, it's indicating right, a right bundle branch block. Is it really that simple? Actually, it is. So there it is a little closer. We have a wide QRS. We have a P wave, but V1 is upright predominantly, and that is our indication. Left bundle is the same but opposite. Here we have a P wave, so we know we're on the wiring. This is interesting because we have a wide PR interval because the signal up here is taking longer than it should to make it through the atria. And now when we get to the ventricles, we're wide once again. But we know we're on the wire because we have that P wave. We have the signal tries to go down the left, it can't, so it comes down the right, and it goes across from cell wall to cell wall to cell wall. That adds time. V1 sits about right here. V1, the energy is going away from it. And that represents this massive wavefront of energy going from the right to the left. Therefore, V1 is down. If we're in a car, we're going to turn left and we hit our turn signal down. That would be a left-hand turn. Therefore, left bundle branch block. So both of those are known mimics. Just be aware that when you see those, you're interpreting that EKG in the presence of a known mimic of a STEMI. This is an echo. This is the left ventricle. Nice concentric squeeze. You see how thick that LV wall is. Up here in this corner, you can see the RV, the right ventricle, pop in every once in a while. That's a normal EKG. EKG here on the bottom is normal width. This here is a right bundle branch block. A concentric squeeze, but our timing with our ventricles is off a little bit. Our QRS down here is wide. So we've got this is a right bundle branch block, and you see that timing becoming an issue. This one here is even more dramatic. Here's your dilated left ventricle, and here's your right ventricle. And at point, very wide QRS here at the bottom, and that's almost that you can actually get cardiac swing. Your heart hangs on your pulmonary veins. So as that heart swings, one ventricle squeezes and the next ventricle squeezes, you can actually get that rocking motion inside the chest. These can actually be corrected to a large degree with cardiac resynchronization therapy or biventricular pacing. So through the coronary sinus, they'll sneak a wire through there. They can pace the right ventricle with a wire in the right ventricle through the wire in the coronary sinus that wraps around to the back of the LV. They can pace that, and they actually get the squeeze synchronized again and actually shorten that QRS. And I've had patients be pinker and feel better on the way back to recovery from that type of therapy. So very beneficial. There's a couple of EKGs to demonstrate that. We do have P waves, so we know we're in the 8. We're on the wire at some point. Our QRS is wide. V1 is down, so this would be a left bundle branch block. And then right bundle branch block, we have P waves, so we know we're on the wiring, and our V1 is up, QRS is wide, therefore our right bundle branch block. All right, hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.